So guys, woke up this morning, a really cold, damp, overcast morning. Been raining overnight, cloudy skies, probably about 10 degrees. I'll do an annotation in Fahrenheit. Don't know exact calculation from 10 degrees to Fahrenheit, but I'll have a look and I'll put it in the notes underneath the YouTube video later on. As you can see at the moment, there's not a cloud in the sky. We've got a high of 18 degrees. Again, I'll convert that over to Fahrenheit. I'm guessing 18 is probably about 68, 67 Fahrenheit. Currently about 13, 14. And as you can see, not a cloud in the sky. No wind, no breeze, nothing. So I thought about half an hour ago, it's burrito time. Not burrito time as in the burrito you eat. Put an H on the front there. Not a burrito that you eat, but a burrito that you ride. As in the little Himalayan, my little donkey. So there she is. I'm about to crank her up and get her out. And we'll take her for a ride and see what this late autumn morning. Should I say what time is it? It's actually 1:45, so we're just in the afternoon. This late autumn, early afternoon day has to offer, and we'll see where we get to. And I'll share a few of my thoughts on what's happening in the Royal Enfield world as we bob along. I hope the microphone is clear enough and you can hear what I'm saying. Shouldn't be too much wind noise today, so it should be okay. So on that note, I'll get the bike out, we'll start her up. There she is. It's the V-Strom without the luggage on, covered up. The petrol can on the seat is it's quite strange. I've got a local cat, a feral cat, that keeps getting under the cover and sleeping on the seat, and I've just come down and it's been sleeping on there again. And it's not just sleeping on there, it's making a right mess under there with its muddy paws and whatnot. So I'll fasten the strap underneath and put a petrol can on there. Whether it'll deter it or not, I don't know. Anyway, onward and upward. Oh. Right, okay. As many of you have got on Royal Enfield, you'll know exactly what I've done there. You can see I'm in first gear and the side stands down, so it was parked in first gear as it was parked up, just for safety reasons. So there we go. There we go, sounds a bit better. Anyway, onward and upward. Another trick for you guys who've got an Enfield and you're in a confined space like I am at the moment, you may have seen this on YouTube, is get hold of the bike with the front handlebar, get the luggage rack at the back, tilt her over on the side stand and spin around. Anyway guys, we'll get out and have a look around, see where we get to. Yeah, so as some of you guys know, especially you guys who've got an Himalayan, it's such a tactile bike. It's so confidence inspiring when you ride it. You can actually get out on the Enfield and you can forget about riding. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but you can just take in the scenery and enjoy the ride. The constant thing that keeps going around is a lack of power. But to be honest, if you hustle this bike, it's got plenty of power. It'll do highway speeds, it'll do back road speeds, and providing you keep the turn of power on, it's a fast enough bike. It'll keep up with all traffic. It accelerates well in lower gears. It's just how you ride it really. If you use the power that you've got, it's sufficient for everything you need really. Especially in the environment that I'm in at the moment, you can see we've got super rough roads. They're a bit damp from the rain last night, a bit twitchy. There can be a bit of sand on them on different areas. But all in all, it's a superb little bike just to jump on and just to not have to think about your riding. The bike just takes you along and you can just enjoy everything, take everything around you in, take all the smells and the environment in. I don't know if you guys have been watching the not Netflix, it's an Amazon collaboration with the BBC, a mini-series. I think there's 5 or 6 parts. It's called The English, and if you have been watching that series, you'll notice the landscape and the cinematography is absolutely stunning. The actual landscape of the Wild West that it portrays is a bit of an illusion, because it's not actually the Wild West, it's here in Spain, and it's fairly near to where I live. We're in southern Spain, and a bit further down we're in the region called Murcia, and the next region over is Almeria. Now Almeria has, you'll have to excuse these bumps, you can hear my voice is quivering a bit. Almeria is the only area in Europe that has a desert, Tabernas. And in Tabernas all the old spaghetti westerns were made with Lee Van Cleef and Clint Eastwood, etc. And they use the same location and the same studios for part of it down in Tabernas in Almeria. What you'll have noticed if you guys are watching it is the greenery of the landscape. Now I'm not 100% sure, but I would imagine they filmed it last spring, or maybe the spring before, but I'm saying last spring. The reason I'm saying that is southern Spain last spring had the wettest spring on record for years and years and years, and the flora and fauna that was around at that time was absolutely astounding. I mean, the plains and the back roads that you ride along around here were green with wildflowers as far as the eye could see. Stunning scenery. And I don't know if the GoPro will pick any of the scenery out that I'm riding through now, but we're actually riding through fields that are full of almonds, and you can see the almond trees have lost their leaves, but the ones on the other side of the road there we just passed are deciduous. They're olive trees. They keep their leaves all year round, they stay green all year round. But most of Spain, I was watching a documentary on Spain the other day, and Spain is a vast area. It's 3-4 times the size of the UK in landmass. We've got a population of about 46 million people. I think the UK has got a population of around 66 million maybe. And most of the landmass of Spain, especially internally, is not populated. It's very sparsely populated. This region where I live is one of the most populated regions, but you've only got to get out and about like I am now, just out of the local towns and into the countryside, and it opens up a vast area. There's a bit of sand, the back end's kicked out a bit there. The sand, and I'll get back to what I was talking about in a minute, but the sand on the road here, it's called barro by the locals, which means mud. And literally when the sand gets on the road, it does go like a slimy mud. It's very claggy and very slippy. Anyway, get back to what I was talking about, Murcia, the Murcia region. Yeah, it's quite populated, the Murcia region, but you can get out on the back roads and you can get up into the mountains. But Murcia on a whole is quite progressive in Spain. It's an autonomous region, which means it's governed by its own central government and not by the government, the main government of the country. It's got some autonomy, almost like Wales has now with its devolution, etc., and Scotland to a certain extent. There's only a few autonomous regions in Spain. The rest are under the main government with everything. You can see this is quite bizarre now. I'm going past a theme park. We're in the middle of nowhere, and this theme park has sprung up. It's called Mura Park. You can see it's full of cars, but you can see from the scenery we're just in the middle of nowhere. People travel a fair way to get to it. The landscape is very, very similar to California. Murcia is called the California of Europe. You can see the mountain ranges look very similar to the Californian mountain ranges. Hence really why a lot of the Wild West films are shot in Almeria. The landscape lends itself really well to be in North America, California, Texas, anywhere really along them lines. But you can see that the light quality that we get here as well, with being a bit further south than the rest of Europe, we get an amazing quality of light that lends itself fantastically to cinematography and photos as well. Often when I take a few photos or I take a bit of video, especially on something like an iPhone that's not a dedicated well, they are dedicated cameras now, but not like an SLR camera. Often you get a sort of silhouetted line along the top of the mountains that's so vivid, stands out so well. It's really incredible how the photos turn out. That's a place that a friend of ours used to own. It's been totally changed now. It was all planted and gardens before, and the guy obviously has ploughed it all over. Yeah, so these little trails, they go through the Campo, and some of them end up nowhere. They just come to a dead end. This is notorious when it gets wet, this particular track, because it gets really, really claggy. At the moment it's been scraped by a tractor, so it's quite smooth, quite flat. The thing about the Himalayan that's outstanding really is the fact that you can just get out and tootle about and explore without... It is a heavy bike, but it doesn't feel a heavy bike when you're riding it. Certainly if I get on my V-Strom, it would do all these tracks no problem, the V-Strom with intermediate tyres. You can use it as an adventure bike. It is used as an adventure bike by a lot of people, but it's just not as usable as the little Himalayan. See, dead end at the end of the track. So I'll spin it round here and go back the other way. Yeah, the Himalayan lends itself to pretty much going anywhere really, over any terrain. Cut across the field here. It's not intimidating in any way, and the torque is amazing. I mean, I'm in first gear there, but you could be in second or third gear and you get the same sort of torque on the bike. So, what do you guys think about the well, they're not rumours anymore. There's talk now of 2024 an Himalayan 650 based on the Twin. I don't know really. I'm divided, because for what I use the Himalayan for, I think the single gives it the character, the single thumper, gives it the low down torque and everything. So I don't know how I feel about the 650 Twin. Obviously the 650 Twin, if it was my only bike and I was going to use that for everything, like going on long trips or whatever, that involved a bit of motorway, yeah, I think that would be a bit better. Having said that, I've been out on this a few times on the motorway recently, and it pulls pretty well, even with the luggage on the back. I mean, it actually will do an indicated 140 kph, this particular Himalayan of mine. Whether it's doing that or not is a different thing totally. Yeah. Sorry, I was deep in thought as I drove past that. That was a good couple of friends of ours, and had a ruin on there with an extra set of deeds and all sorts, and it's very sparse now the way the guy's done it. Not been down this way for a long time. I don't know how I feel about the 650. I can't wait to have a go on one and try it. I don't know. It could be the perfect bike for everything, I suppose. But I just think there's something about having an adventure bike that's got a single cylinder in. Long stroke, very torquey. And don't get me wrong, when I did get this, there were times when I thought, it's a bit underpowered, this bike, it needs a bit more oomph. But I don't feel that way anymore. It's sort of really gelled with the bike, and I really enjoy riding it. There's not many times I get on it and I feel it's underpowered. I did go on a journey the other day where I had to do about 10k of motorway, and I was aware it was at its top end. Obviously, you know, there wasn't a lot more on the motorway. But to be honest, it didn't overly bother me. It wasn't a deal breaker. Camping. Wow, someone bought a plot there, put fencing around it, they've got a tent on there, camping away. Another thing on the Himalayan, you guys will know this, I'll try and have a look. I've got the sun visor down on my helmet, but it's showing an indicated 20 degrees. The Himalayan's notorious for reading the outside ambient temperature wrong, so I would say it's probably, I would think about 16 at the moment. It's nowhere near 20. But people have tried moving the sensor to different positions, but it still reads a totally wrong indicated temperature. To be honest, I do. I don't get complacent, but I forget about the temperatures in different places. I went back to the UK a few weeks back to see my mother, and one of the things that really struck me was we came into Gatwick Airport, and we were landing about 25 past 4, I think. So we were coming on the approaching in about from 4 o'clock onwards, and I'd watched the sun to the left of me setting, going behind us, and thought, wow, that's early. It's quite early for the sun to be setting. Anyway, by the time we were coming into land at 4:15, it was almost pitch black. It was crazy. It was overcast, so obviously that added to the darkness. But yeah, it's so dark. The actual earliest it gets dark here in Spain, that's the shortest day that we have, will be about 6 o'clock, and we're coming up to that now. So in the evenings at 6 o'clock we've still got what they call the blue hour, still got a bit of dusky twilight. So 6 to quarter past it's getting towards what you would call nighttime dark, I suppose. Yeah, I'll come over this way. I don't know whether the GoPro will pick it up. I was going to say before I lost my train of thought, but I've got the GoPro set to medium. I normally shoot on wide, and wide tends to squash everything down. So medium might squash it down a bit, but you'll see some of the landscape here. One of the fascinating things about Spain in general is the lack of fences or walls. So if you think Canada, you think America, you think the wilderness, Alaska, where you can pretty much, they're starting to fence plots off, individual plots, but generally as you look across the landscape out into the distance, certainly you could do before, you could walk for miles and miles and miles without getting stopped. Obviously crossing different people's lands, and there's boundary markers, but there's no actual fences. A lot of people now are starting to fence their plots off. I think that's a thing to do with this is mine and that's theirs and all the rest of it. There's a lot of argument over land. But yeah, it's still Spain is still a bit of a wilderness country. One thing that always fascinates me when I'm out and about is watching the shepherds with the sheep, and it's almost biblical. It goes back to, ancient times, where used to countries like the UK, Wales, with all the sheep being in fields with hedgerows around them so they can't escape. They don't really need a shepherd apart from general maintenance of the flock and seeing if they're okay. The sheep go out with a shepherd, they spend all day out with a shepherd and a couple of sheepdogs, and then go back to a compound at night time to be safe from foxes and wolves in certain parts of Spain. No wolves here in this part of Spain at the moment, but if you travel a bit further south, not so far actually, as a crow flies, there's still Iberian wolves roaming around in Spain, lots of them in the north. Problem in the north with them taking sheep, etc. We still have the Iberian bear, so we're pretty much like Canada and America. We've still got wildlife that other countries have lost. Certainly plenty of wild boar, plenty of wild goats, mouflon they're called here, or we have a type of ibex as well with the long horns. That was a trail I wanted to go down. I'll go a bit further on and show you some of the scenery across the valley, and it'll probably bring to mind what I was talking about before about the spaghetti westerns. How the stunning landscape mirrors a lot of this type of climate, I would say, not countries, but I suppose when you have a similar climate you're going to have a similar sort of landscape. Bit of off-roading down here, a few bumps, a few rocks. Wait. Now this is interesting when I'm going around the corner. For years I never knew what it was. Obviously not being a local to this part of Spain. But there's a couple of what look like doorways, like he's just gone past now. They're actually kilns, drying kilns. And they're used for drying. That's a local type of rock that you can see up on the mountain there. See, it's on the floor as well. And it's a sort of gypsum rock that they make a local plaster out of called gesso. And the process is quarrying the rock first. Turn the bike off. Quarrying the rock first, then drying it out, crushing it into a powder, and then it's used as a plaster. And these two old buildings you can see, in front of me, are part and parcel of the old drying kiln system, I believe. Yeah, so let's get off the bike. Right, so I'll, without taking my helmet off because the GoPro's on the helmet, I'll try and do a 360. So we've got the roads at the rear of where we've just come from, and this road goes to a place called Thietha, which is an old Moorish town with a castle on the top. And you can see the mountain range in front of me now. That's the Sierra del Oro. Sierra de Ricotti, and that carries over towards the other side, which is Mula, Carabaca, Thajin. This mountain range we're in is the Sierra del Oro, the Sierra of Gold. And I'll do a 360 for you so you can see there's nobody about. There's no civilization that you can see. If I look into the distance there, you can see fields and terraces and pine trees and stunning white fluffy clouds. Further down there's a canyon below us. Actually, that's where I was going to go down that track and ride around there and have a bit of off-roading, but you can see as far as you can see, there's just miles and miles, and literally if you go down the bottom where I'm pointing to, you can go with an off-road GPS map miles and miles around these trails. The only thing is they're very shaly, they're very dry and gravelly. There are some tracks that are a bit more muddy and there's a bit more grip on them. They're nicer to ride on. And then the mountain range right over the other side to the right, that would be heading towards Madrid inland. So you head over them mountains there, and funny enough, when you get over that mountain range, it flattens out and comes very flat and plain like, and then you head into the distance towards Madrid, which is, you're gradually climbing as you go to Madrid. Madrid's one of the highest cities in Europe. Stunning landscape, stunning weather. I've got a jacket, gloves and boots on, and I'm actually a bit hot, actually, a bit warm, so yeah. Yeah, so it's a vast area that's unoccupied inland, and the infrastructure's quite crazy really, because the road system is fantastic. I mean, there's been a lot of money pumped into Spain from the EU, and the roads are so smooth. There's the main roads, the autovias, the motorways, highways, as you guys over in the States call them. But the strangest thing is Spain has got the most high-speed rail lines, the second most in the world. Which is crazy. The amount of population we've got here, we've got the most kilometres of high-speed rail links in the world, second in the world I should say. So the infrastructure is actually very strange, but you've only got Madrid in the centre, and then you've got Bilbao and Santander up in the north, and then you've got lesser populated areas like Malaga down in the south, and Andalusia is sparsely populated. But then you've got Murcia and Alicante region, Valencia, and all the way up the east coast, which is very, very highly populated. So yeah, there's plenty of space, guys, to get out on a motorbike here and enjoy yourself, and it's a great place to tour around. I'm sure many of you guys from the UK and the rest of Europe have probably done tours in Spain, especially northern Spain. So you'll be aware how nice the roads are to ride on. Anyway, I'm waffling a bit. I said I was going to go on about a few things that were on my mind and a few things I was thinking about. Yeah, the Himalayan 650, yeah. That'll be interesting to see how that turns out. And the Himalayan 450 apparently It's going to be another single cylinder, the 450 apparently, so I can't see why they want to do a 450 and a 650, but we'll wait and see. Yeah, but at the moment, like I say, there she is, the little burrito, as I call it, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's very endearing. Something I jump on and really enjoy riding. It's a change really from the 1000cc's, the 1500s and the super sports bikes I've had in the past. It's a totally different experience, and it takes me back to maybe when I first started riding, 50cc when I was 16, and then up to a 250 when I was 17 you could ride, and then they later changed it so you could only go to 125 because the 250s we had back then were really quick. The Yamaha RD250 was a 2-stroke, but it was a fast bike. It was a really nippy bike. Yeah, so yeah, and I mean, you had to use the full potential of those bikes when you first started riding, so you'd use the gears to the full potential and the acceleration in the gears, and I think that's pretty much how you use the Himalayan. You use it as you need the power. There's enough power there, plenty of power. It's only 411cc, but it's enough for what you need for it to do, to be honest, what it's designed to do, and that's to get around places, enjoy life, and see stuff like this. Anyway, I'm going to waffle no more. I hope you've enjoyed the scenery. If you haven't enjoyed the waffling, let me know in the comments below, and I'll just do rides without speaking. But yeah, stay safe everyone. Enjoy the lead up to Christmas and the holidays. Whether you have a faith or not, I have a strong faith, but if you guys don't, that's your choice. But yeah, enjoy the season, enjoy the lead up to Christmas and the holidays wherever you are. Stay safe and ride safe. Peace out.